when I say that every weapon formed against me, when it comes to this YouTube live stream, has tested me. I try to do this. I might cry. I can't even guarantee you that I won't cry. Um, I tried to do this last Friday. Let me make sure the mic is working. I hope it is. Um, I tried to do this last Friday, and everything that could have gone wrong did. And so I reset for today, Wednesday evenings. I said, let me take a breath. Maybe it's not meant for me to go live on Friday afternoons. Let me do a little research. Let me see if maybe it's better for me if I go um, during the weekday. So we pivot. We're here, and then again this evening, all the technology failed. But we're here. We're here. I hope someone is there, um, and listening. And even if you're not, guess what? I'm showing up for me. That's the energy I am on currently. Welcome to Dr. Nikki Knows YouTube live stream. I am none other than Dr. Nikki herself. If you are new to me, I am a licensed psychologist. I'm a pleasure coach. Um, I'm lots of things. And I hope that you show up week after week and get to know me a little bit better. I am excited to be here. All of this is new technology to me. And let me be clear, I'm very proud of myself for just sticking with it, for not giving up on myself, for persevering. And today's episode is all about I don't want peace, I want pleasure. I love that GIF meme audio. I don't even know the social media audio with the West African man that says, I don't want peace, I want problems always. But today we want to talk about pleasure because I want pleasure. Not always. Like I get it. That's unrealistic, right? Life is all about the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows. But what bothers me is when I hear people say protecting my peace. I have a lot of issues with that phrase, but chief among them is peace is not the primary goal. But like peace is not it. I don't want to stop at peace. I want pleasure to be the final goal for me. And so today kicks off, first of all, my live stream debut for YouTube. And we're starting in the month of May. May has a lot going on. May has Teacher Appreciation Week if you're a parent, Mother's Day. It is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And one of my favorite things, it's also Masturbation Month. It's Masturbation Day. So over the course of this month, we're going to be talking about all of these things. And we're starting off tonight talking about the relationship between mental health and pleasure. So let me just give you a little rundown about how each weekly episode will go. We'll only be here together for max 30 minutes. Maybe I'll get a little chatty. I don't know. We'll see. And we will, each week, we're going to have a topic. And I'm going to do a couple things. One, I want you to think about me as like your very well educated, licensed, informed girlfriend on the couch, right? That is the one of my taglines is that I am like a warm cup of cider on a Saturday morning, but a splash of bourbon on a Friday night. And I really want to invoke that energy here. So I'm going to come prepared. I got things to talk about. I mean, it's Dr. Nikki Knows. I be knowing a lot of stuff. So we'll talk about things, but I really would like for this to be an interactive space. I'm going to have a good time. I'm picking things that are important to me, things that I think we need to be talking about, things that come up in my work with my clients. And then we'll also have a segment I like to call Dr. Nikki Knows, where you can write in, text, DM, let me know if you got questions about sex, about pleasure, about intimacy, about connection, about relationships, about mental health. about liberation, and probably other things too, then you can write in and let me know. So each week I'm going to go over at least one question, and then I will leave you always with a pleasure tip of the week. So let's jump into it. Mental Health Awareness Month and pleasure. What are the two things have to do with one another? So my work is for Black women. In specific, I work with high achieving Black women. I work with myself because I am a high achieving Black woman, and I've learned so much through my own journey and my own process. I am a therapist that goes to therapy. And what I find is that we sit in a really unique position. And the reason why I talk about pleasure so much with regard to Black women in specific is because the world fully benefits from Black women diverting their pleasure, for minimizing our pleasure, for putting everyone and everything and their needs and their comforts before ours. And so I am really interested in disrupting that. And I think that if we seek pleasure, right, if we make that the goal, you remember that old Star Search show? I am dating myself. I am Gen X. I'm 50. And there was like this saying of shoot for the moon, and even if you fall short, you'll be among the stars, right? That's how I feel about pleasure. Like, let's not stop at peace. Let's go all the way to the promised land. Let's go to pleasure. So mental health. First of all, let me talk a little bit about my preference for the use of the word mental wellness. I think what happens when we talk about health, especially in a Western context, we typically think about either, at best, the absence of disease, or we talk about the management of disease. In that, there's a lot of sort of association around quantifiable specific disorders when we talk about mental health. It's almost used euphemistically, oftentimes, especially in media, television, news, to sort of talk about someone who is lacking mental health or challenging mental health rather than the experience of being in an optimal state, mental wellness. So I talk about mental wellness a lot. And that means for me that not only are you absent of disorder or disease or dysregulation or dysfunction, pick a dis, but you also have a wide variety of tools and skills, resources, characteristics, traits that allow you to experience life fully, wholly, in an engaged way. And for me, the full, whole experience of life includes pleasure. We sometimes also see this inverse relationship, right? So if we are in a place where things are not good for us, and mental wellness is not like this sort of, what do I want to say, like Pollyanna, toxic positivity, right? Like only good vibes. I'm not talking about that. The reality is life go life. There will always be ups and downs. There's going to always be things that are outside of your control that can cause anxiety, that can cause depression. I'll speak personally in that I have experienced a major loss recently in my life. My mother passed away last January, and the experience of grief is a whole ass phenomenon, a whole experience. And why I talk about mental wellness is because I have and do mourn my mother. I deeply grieve my mother. I miss her. I yearn for her. I get angry that she's not here, that she left me. I have all these wide range of feelings about my grief. And I'm also living life, and I'm also persevering, and I have joyful moments. And my life is not limited to managing or controlling the grief. However, my relationship personally to pleasure over these past 16 months has shifted, right? Because of the prominence of the grief. But it doesn't mean that I give up. It doesn't mean that, until I'm not grieving, then I don't get to experience joy and pleasure. No, it means that I have to think differently. I have to be differently with how I understand pleasure, how I see pleasure in my life. And it works such that when I can find the foothold on joy, of pleasure, it actually helps lift the grief, right? So there is a real interdependent, sort of reflexive back and forth, if you will, um, informing cycle of relationship between mental wellness and pleasure. I hate the phrase protecting my peace because I could do 3 episodes. What I hear when people say that is that, one, they don't understand how to navigate conflict, that they perceive conflict as a negative thing, right? If someone's here with me, I appreciate it. I'm so happy. Is that people say, I'm protecting my peace. It really means you a punk. It means you don't want to, you want to avoid conflict. And the reality is, there is no relationship in life that's worth having. There is no relationship in life that is intimate and connected that doesn't experience conflict. Guess what? Because you a whole ass human being, and the other person is a whole ass human being with complicated sets of personalities, experiences, traumas, opinions, feelings, traits, beliefs, knowledge. It's like, how are you going to always be in sync? So one of the things about protecting my peace that irritates me is like, oh, so that means that I'll only get to show up in a way that makes you feel comfortable. What about me? And secondarily, that stuff, that messiness that I just talked about in terms of people being in relationship, it's the stuff that matters. It's the stuff that makes us feel alive. Is it always fun? Does it always feel good? Absolutely not. But it's the stuff that helps us grow, expand, learn. It's like why we're here. And so if you are so focused on protecting your peace, it sounds like you live in a real flat, dull, boring life. You might be at a sense of calm. Your nervous system may not be activated or dysregulated, but it's also not aroused. And there is a difference between an activated nervous system and an aroused nervous system. Now, I will also allow there to be grace and understanding in that some of us are building skills around these things, and we're not there yet where we've really figured out how to negotiate and navigate conflict. What I want to challenge you to think about is to think about it not as either or. I have conflict or I don't. I'm in a relationship or I'm not. Like, these things all exist along a continuum. I either know how to do it or I don't. Guess what? I do know that if you don't start practicing, if you don't engage it, you're not going to ever get better at it. You certainly won't build up any tolerance around it. And the third thing that saying protect my peace like signals for me is like, you don't know how to regulate your own emotions. Like, for you, the experience of negotiating differences or managing or being around other people or experiencing conflict is like dysregulating to you. You don't know how to express yourself. You don't know how to use your big words. And again, skill sets, all things that we can grow and learn in, right? And if you are so busy protecting your peace, where's the fun? Like, yes, we can have fun by ourselves. Lots of fun, all types of fun, erotic and otherwise, that we can have by ourselves. But we are not born or wired as human beings to be disconnected from each other. We are actually supposed to be in relationship and connected to one another. So I know people hear a lot of stuff around regulating your nervous system. And I talk a lot about that with my clients, right? Especially when we have any sort of trauma history, which is pretty much everybody on the planet, or deep wounds of things, right? That when we live in the world, because in these good United States of America, things are real stressful. It's a lot of opportunity for anxiety to fester. It could be a lot of opportunity for you to feel bad about yourself, to feel just bad in general about life, and to be depressed. You can really get mired in a lot of like gross and not good feeling stuff. And so we do have to think and talk a lot about how to regulate our nervous system. That is also a skill. It's important, right? I am a human being. I have to struggle with these things myself. But your regulated nervous system doesn't mean you just experience calm and peace. A regulated nervous system means that everything is working optimally. So we have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Let me nerd out with you just for a minute, right? The sympathetic nervous system is the go, 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 go. No, I always get it wrong. No. Wait, yes, it's the like, hey, we need to do something, right? And the parasympathetic is supposed to come in and like calm it down. You just think about them as like a gas and brakes, right? You should have full access to your gas, full access to your brakes. You got a fully functioning car, right? Or what's an accelerator for you electric vehicle people? An accelerator, right? You can go and you can come. You can go and you can come. That's what a regulated nervous system looks like. They both work together. They're both optimal, right? And really are functional. However, the other side of having a regulated nervous system means you have greater access to joy, connection, relationship, creativity, new thought. It is the state that you should be in to allow life to take place. So yes, good for regulating, but once it's regulated, then what? This is where the pleasure comes in. And so what I want us to think about is, are we living life? Well, maybe that's the full question. Are we sort of just focused on getting through each day, right? Just like, got up again, got up again. That's not living. It's certainly not the one that I want to be a part of. All right. I want us to think about thriving. Now, I think it is difficult to think about that in the context of living in sort of a heterosexist, capitalist, white supremacist patriarchy that we live in, right? Thriving requires a whole lot of resources and access to things that we should have, but we don't. But I do want us to get much more out of this context of surviving, okay? Let me know if that makes sense. Drop it in the comments if you understand surviving versus thriving, and if you understand that thriving is the goal that we should all be reaching for. Just let me know if you're with me. And if you ever have any questions, even if you're watching this after the live, drop it in the comments. I will come back. I will respond. I will give you all the knowledge I'll have. And guess what? I'm also very, 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 very comfortable saying, you know what? I don't know. That's not really my area of expertise. If I do know, I will send you in the direction of that person or resources that can answer that question for you. So, thriving or surviving? Thriving is the goal. Hey, we're tracking. I love it. I love it. I love it. Right? Thriving is the goal. So, the regulated nervous system, the state of mental health is the bare minimum. If you don't take nothing else today from today's episode, that's the bare minimum. And I don't know about you, but I, at this good 50 years old, I'm past the halfway mark. 100 feel like too much. I'm not okay with the bare minimum. I'm really about to sing that old church song. He brought me this far to leave me. You done brought me this far for me to accept the bare minimum. No, I want more. I want optimal. I want to sort of push the boundaries of what is possible for myself. And for me, that is where this pleasure component comes in. To feel lit up, to feel excited. I heard someone a couple of years ago say that if something is not a full body yes, then it's a no. It's a no for me, dog. And I don't always remember that. But when I do hold that as like my internal constant, it makes things so much more manageable for me. It makes things much more clear for me, right? A full body yes. So when I talk about pleasure, and we're going to talk about it a lot here, I do mean erotic pleasure. I do mean sexual pleasure. I do mean orgasmic pleasure. I also mean the things that are non-erotic, that light you up and remind you that you are here and your heart is open. You are a person that is fully present in the moment, that you are pure living potential. You're experiencing joy. You feel it in your body, right? That's what I mean by a whole of life. I love the question. What are some examples of how to move from surviving to thriving? So one of the things is getting in your body. And I think that that is one of the primary foundational critical indicators that you can have about your state of mental health, period, full stop. But if you are able, let me slow down a little bit. So, what I mean by getting your body, a lot of times we're just sort of operating on autopilot. Where I call it living from like the neck up, right? We're ignoring the signals that our body is sending us. That whole thing I was just talking about in terms of feeling alive, like a whole body, yes. Like from your head to your toes, is it tingly? Does it light you up? Do you feel like yes, right? Do you want to like twerk a little bit? Does it make you smile? Does it make you want to sing a little song, right? That is that sense of like being fully present and alive and excited. You feel that in your body. It's not a head thing. It's not you. I feel good right now. I feel pleasure. No, pleasure is a felt sense, right? Safety, a regulated nervous system means that we experience safety, right? So when we're feeling that, those are all embodied things, and you can't figure that out up here. I'm gonna geek out for just like 20 seconds. I just heard this podcast earlier today that was talking about left brain versus right brain and how much our left brain is sort of hardwired to facilitate us living outside of our body. And that one of the ways to get in our bodies to help sort of really disconnect us from panic, anxiety, overwhelm is to get over here in this right side, because this is where our creativity lives. This is where the possibility, the potential lives, right? So we're in this foundational sense of safety, of wellness, and that's how I know I'm not just surviving. Because when you're in survival mode, you're not looking up past here. Everything is just what's right in front of you. When you are not in survival mode, you see the array of possibilities. And I think the way that you step into thriving is that you check in with your authentic self and you make fully empowered decisions about how you're going to engage with the landscape in front of you. That you get to choose the things that bring you joy and light you up and make you curious and build your creativity and get all of the good juices going. And if don't nobody else like it, you don't care. You don't care. It don't matter. That to me is how we move into thriving. So one, it is being present, right? You got to do all the healing, working through the stuff, know your triggers, have your skills to be able to work through your activation, own your trauma, take accountability, all of that stuff. You've done all of that stuff. But now you're like, okay, now what? Let me try some other stuff. Let me try my skills in this new horizon, on this new level. Those to me are the ways that you know that you are living in your way of thriving. You're not just here, you're here. Your heart is open, right? Shoulders back. The world is open to you. You're open to it. That's how you know you're thriving. So if you're not there, then part of the work is getting in touch with your body, listening to it, believing in its intelligence, and knowing that you also can control this, right? That you get to move out of a state of stuckness, that you are empowered, and that you can do that with grace, self-compassion, love, and curiosity. Let me know if that answers your question. Okay, so the one other question I wanted to ask, and I do want to speak to this specifically, not ask, answer, is about trauma, right? Many of us have trauma. The more that neuroscience helps us understand trauma, the more I'm like, hey, who out here living fully as an adult that don't have none? I feel like we all have had some sort of trauma, maybe traumas, right? And so what happens is, now the one thing that is true is that the body keeps the score, right? That oftentimes, oh, I wish I had the book right here in front of me. Because I think there's a oh, I'm going to post it in the comments, because there's a beautiful sort of thought exercise journaling prompt that is in Dr. Sheena's book called Body Rights. That's the book is really written for sexual assault survivors, but it's a really beautiful way to think about your relationship to your body and trauma. So our bodies hold, archive, store, remember the traumas that we have experienced. And what can happen is when we are experiencing pleasure, we can sort of bump up against these trauma points, these stuck points, these places in our bodies that haven't metabolized, let go, sometimes before we even know what has happened, right? This is where our ability and our skills in being self-compassionate and being curious rather than judgmental really come into play, right? And so what I'm talking about today in terms of mental health, mental wellness, and pleasure, again, is not meant to live in some sort of false vacuum of, joy and positivity and just radiate light. I understand deeply, personally and professionally. I've sat in spaces with clients of deep, deep pain and sorrow and experiences that are really inconceivable and ineffable. And yet somehow we keep going. And so the purpose of my conversation here with you today is that you owe it to yourself that the keeping going includes the pursuit of pleasure. You see what I did there? The pursuit of pleasure. You owe it to yourself to continue to seek out thriving, to challenge yourself to move beyond the survival, to let peace be the bare minimum for you. Okay? All right. So let's get into what do I know? What is today's question? Let's get into it. Actually, we have two questions. So one is, why is prioritizing pleasure healing? Why is it healing and not indulgent? And this is specifically to you, high achieving Black woman. We sort of are socialized, indoctrinated at some point or very early on that like you get to experience pleasure after you have checked all the boxes of responsibility. It's like you couldn't possibly have dessert before dinner. You couldn't possibly have a slice of pie for breakfast. Like, no, that's against the rules. Now, I live in a world where I have pie anytime I damn well want. I have dessert if I want to have it. Okay? I tend to lean towards a little bit of hedonism. But I think that we have to sort of subvert the expectation, which is for us to hold everything in, diminish, put ourselves lower and lower and lower and lower and lower on the priority list. And we have to really lean into prioritizing our pleasure. And that is what makes it healing. It's because you shift the center, the control, the focus from the external and other people's expectations, needs, desires for your life, wants for theirs, and you bring it back to yours. What do I want in this moment? What would make me feel good? And it's not a selfish question. It is not an indulgent question. And even if it is, so what? There's nothing about your character or morality or your contribution or worth in the world that says your deprivation or denial of your pleasure makes you better than other people. These are not moral statements. And that is why the reclamation of pleasure. That's why the pursuit of pleasure. That is why just being unapologetic about striving for that is healing, because what you're doing is taking ownership and control of your life on your own terms for yourself. You cannot begin to live a fulfilled life. You cannot be in a state of mental wellness if you don't have a rooted center of self. We're all here for our own little journeys, for our own reason. And that's enough. And so when you pursue pleasure, Black woman, what you're doing is affirming your worth, your wholeness, your reason, your purpose for being here. And it's not to make a check. It's not to get the bag. It's not to make sure the kids go to the right school. It's not to get the promotion. It's not to live in the right neighborhood or take the right. None of that. That's not why we're here. We're here to be in loving connection with one another and community with one another. We're here to create and dream and imagine and feel good. Like, feel good. Okay? And then question number 2. Question number 2 is, okay, so let's say you in your life, Dr. Nikki, I'm convinced, right? Like, yeah, pleasure. I'm all about it. Yes, arriving pleasure. Give me some. And you're somehow not experiencing the level of pleasure that you would want, right? So let's talk about orgasm equity for a second. The reality is that when we talk about heterosexual intercourse, heterosexual sex, heterosexual men and lesbian cis women are still coming out on top. They put the rest of us to shame. Okay, that they are in any sort of sexual encounter, those two cohorts of people are much more likely to have an orgasm. Like by the way, like it's a rarity that they don't. Like it's really like 99.9%, not that much, but it's like it's in the 9 out of 10 range. And those of us cisgendered heterosexual women, we tend to be on the lower end, right? The numbers are a little bit better when we look specifically at Black people. I encourage you to check out my good sis, Dr. Candace Hargan's book, Good Sex. It's based on research that she's done recently around Black folks and sex. But it is very possible to have a very robust, fulfilled, pleasurable, enjoyable sex life. You could be in a very loving, satisfying, juicy, good relationship, long-term marriage, whatever, not situationship, but you know what I'm saying, partnership, and not regularly experience partnered orgasm. It is that. And so what we first need to know is, how do I take ownership for my own pleasure, right? So it's interesting because one of my top rated videos on TikTok is about women never experiencing orgasm. Like, I made that video 3 years ago, and at least 2 or 3 times a week somebody is discovering it. And so I know that this is a sensitive, tender, it's a sometimes even painful emotionally, right, psychologically, subject for a lot of heterosexual women. And so that's the first thing, is just recognizing that you're not like wrong, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. And 2, it can be changed and fixed. You can change that pattern at any time, but it starts with you. And I think a lot of cis-het women have this idea that their partner and what their partner does is what contributes to the experience of partnered orgasm. And the reality is, the partner matters, but your awareness of what brings you orgasmic pleasure, your ability to advocate for that, to lovingly and playfully and joyfully, but intentionally direct your partner to help you facilitate that, it's going to always be your responsibility. So if you are in a relationship and where you don't regularly experience partnered orgasm, first is to start with yourself. And I would say get really curious about what that is. If you're able to experience orgasm with solo sex, or if you've been able to experience partnered orgasm with different partners, sort of get clear about what is the difference. And not just in terms of the partner, right, or the specific behaviors, that's one part, but also what's different for you. Where are you in your body? What's your relationship with your body? Are you present in the moment when you're with your partner, your current partner, in a different way? Are you allowing yourself all of the space, time, and grace to build up the level of arousal that you need to be able to access orgasm, right? So do your homework first, but do it curiously, not judgmentally, curiously, not judgmentally, curiously, not, say it with me, judgmental, okay? Just like, what's going on? What's different? What's happening? Am I almost getting there? And then something happens. Am I not even getting there? Like, do your homework first, right? And then the other thing is, feel empowered to have a curious conversation with your partner, okay? This isn't an interrogation. It isn't about blame. It isn't about defensiveness. It isn't about telling them what they need to do different. It's a conversation, a discussion. It's a vulnerable one, It may even be very uncomfortable. It is psychologically and emotionally risky. Those things are true, but it is so important. The thing about intimacy that and I will be talking about intimacy a lot. But the thing about intimacy is it is always on the other side of the risk to vulnerability. It don't work the other way. You can't get the intimacy and then risk the vulnerability. It always works the other way, right? So have open, honest, curious dialogue and understand that it's not a one-time conversation, right? It's about shifting an ongoing sense of openness, curiosity, compassion, a willingness to hear and receive feedback in your relationship, right? And 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 then be willing to try some things that are different. Let everybody get out of their comfort zone a little bit, right? And if none of that works, that's what I do. Book a session with me. Book a consultation session with me. Let's see if we can work together. I work with individuals. I work with couples. If you can't figure it out on your own, you don't have to. That's the beauty of the time and space that we live in. Have somebody with some expertise and passion and love for this stuff support you and help you through it. All right. I hope that answers your questions. Okay, let me see one more. Would you agree that it also depends on the nature of the relationship, casual versus committed? I would not. I would not. I think it depends on the nature of your ability to be fully present in your body and to feel safe. And when I say fully present, a sense of safety. Sometimes you might feel an experience of safety because it is somebody new, the stakes are low, and you don't care. You might ask them to do that freaky thing that you would never ask your husband or your long-term partner to do because you're like, I ain't gonna see him again. So if I want to blah, 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 then I could ask him to do it, right? Or it may be there's an eagerness to please and they're much more solicitous. They're much more present in the moment with you. It could be a wide variety of factors, right? I think the inverse can happen too. Sometimes we're in a committed relationship and we've been doing the same stale 5 moves for the last 7 years, and what worked the first 18 months don't work no more. And we got to be willing to switch it up and change it up. So it is about your sense of safety. Your sense of safety and bodily autonomy is what is more important, whether it's committed or casual. I love the follow-up question. Yeah. Okay. Let me tell you something. I had planned for this to be like 20 minutes, and I'm just in here just yapping, but I'm having a great time. So let's get into
to yourself today. Just try to open up and show some to you.
So let's talk about this week's pleasure practice. Let's get into it. So, when was the last time you felt fully turned on, fully alive, fully in the moment, present, just salty? When was the last time that was true for you? No matter how brief, no matter whether you were alone or with other people. What I want you to do is really spend 5 minutes. You got between now and next Wednesday, you got 5 minutes. Okay? I don't want to hear any excuses. 5 minutes where you can sit in the silence of that memory with the intention of bringing that back fully present in your body in the moment now. So I want you to tap into all of those senses, right? In your remembering about the last time you felt fully alive, present, turned on, titillated, exhilarated. Okay? The last time you felt that. What did it feel like? What was the textures? Was it hot, cold? Was it soft, silky sheet? Did you feel the breeze on your skin, right? What did it feel like? What did it smell like? Okay? What did it sound like? What was the rhythm, the cadence, the tempo, the time? Like, get into it. All the senses. What did it taste like? What was the taste on your tongue when that happened? Okay? What did you see? What were your eyes feasting on? And if it wasn't your eyes, here's another fun little nerdy fact. Did you know that your eyes are actually the last part of your brain to develop? Your eyes are optic nerves, and they're actually external parts of your brain. So even if you didn't see something, what did you envision, right? Spend 5 minutes seeing if you can pull back that moment to be fully embodied in all of those senses. And spend as much time seeing if you can crank up, amplify, intensify your connection in the present moment to that experience. See how long you can sustain it. Now, if you want to do expert level, I would encourage you to do 5 minutes every day between now and next Wednesday and see what happens, to see if you can track any more, any differences, to see if you can amplify that feeling, right? Get more rooted and connected to it. But if you only do it once, what I want you to remember is just as much as our bodies keep the score around trauma, our bodies keep the score around pleasure. That means that that experience that you just pulled up, that started coming back to mind when I was talking about it, it still lives inside of you. Your body knows that. It remembers. It ain't going nowhere just because it's not happening in this present moment. And so when you start to feel the drudgery, like pull down the sludge, or you're not having those orgasmic experiences with your partner, you're not feeling the fully aliveness, you are stuck in survival, know that you can bring that feeling of full aliveness back to you at any time. Okay? You can bring that up because it's alive, it's a real thing. You had it. It can't ever be taken away from you. And so sometimes we need to be able to pull ourselves back into the possibility of our own power around pleasure and not just rely on something else to happen in life to bring us there. Okay? So that is your pleasure tip for the week. That's your pleasure practice for the week. I am going to figure it out first, but leave it in the show notes for you to refer back to if you missed it. Thank you so much for those of you, all two of you, I ain't ashamed, all two of you that were here, that stayed, that commented. It meant the world to me. I am here every Wednesday. That is my commitment to myself. And so be a friend, tell a friend, have somebody come with you next time. Send them the link, okay? The show will be up and posted for view. You can go back and rewind and rewatch if I was saying something too much too fast and you missed it. And I will see you all here again next Wednesday. I almost forgot what day it was. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Standard Time. Thank you so much.